Welcome to the stream.
Yo,
How are you doing?
what's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing?
We're good.
Doing great.
Uh,
Big day for you today.
yeah,
Break it down.
congratulations. Yeah, bring it
Yeah,
down for us.
no, it's great to be on with you. It's an exciting day for Whoop. Obviously, we build wearable technology
Hmm.
designed to improve health and performance. I've been building this company for 13 years,
Wow.
and I think if you chart kind of the history of the company, it started really around high-end athletic performance.
Hmm.
And I think for the past decade, you've slowly seen the company evolve from being focused on the world's best athletes to being focused on a much more general population.
Hmm.
And in a lot of ways, our launch today, I think, crystallizes that. We came out with two new hardwares, the Whoop 5.0 and the Whoop MG, 14-day battery life, a whole set of new health sensing, a battery pack that, gives the sensor up to a month of charge without needing another charge. And then we've come out with a whole suite of new features. So we came out with Health Span with Whoop Age, which will tell you essentially how old you are. I think it's going to be a fairly addictive feature based on people's response to it already. We came out with a heart screener with ECG, so you'll be able to screen your heart with a medically cleared feature that's cleared by the FDA, so you can do ECG monitoring, see if you have AFib, which affects about 1 to 2% of the
Hmm.
population. We came out with a whole new suite of women's health features, which is pretty exciting. Menstrual cycle coaching, and then of course, like all sorts of new bands and apparel. We announced that we're going to be doing blood testing soon. So, what started
Wait,
as
wait. You skipped over that, but I'm curious to dive deeper. Is that blood testing in, people can visit labs or have somebody come to them or how far away from my Whoop
It
being able
just
to,
takes
you
your
know,
blood while you're wearing
just
it.
give me a little prick. The original
well,
every
yeah,
Yeah.
the hardware itself won't be giving you the prick, but we are going to enable, clinical lab blood tests,
Hmm.
which will then be integrated into your Whoop data. I think a challenge that everyone feels as a consumer who cares about their health is I've got some data over here, I've got some data at a doctor's
Hmm.
office, I've got my Whoop, I've got, wearable data and that none of that information is connected. And we're trying to bring more of that under the same umbrella. So, we went from having strain, sleep, recovery, health monitoring, stress monitoring. We've now added things like, ECG metrics. We came out with blood pressure today, which is a huge deal.
Wow.
Uh, and then, on top of that, we're now going to be introducing things like blood testing. So when you start putting all of this data under the same roof, and you can layer in coaching and analysis, different forms of artificial intelligence. It's pretty powerful what you're going to be able to tell people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How competitive are you and the team, and how much does that impact your kind of product development cycle? I mean, I have to imagine, like, obviously there's a variety of fitness and health trackers out there, but you guys seem to be very clearly at the edge with this new launch, and I imagine already working on the next iteration. But what's the culture like internally?
I wouldn't say we spend a lot of time thinking about or talking about the competition, in part because the space for wearables went from actually being incredibly competitive to now having maybe the fewest players it's ever had.
Yeah.
If we were to talk about competition 10 years ago, right? I started the company in 2012, but let's say like 2015, we'd be talking about Nike and Adidas and Under Armour and Fitbit and Jawbone and Intel and Microsoft and Samsung and Google, and here are all the other companies that are going to enter the space, and Amazon's coming and Facebook's coming. And of course, Apple has been in the space. So today, it's really only like three or four companies that I think are playing a big role in pushing health monitoring. And I think we got this far by having our own point of view on the space. We've done things a little differently. We built a device that doesn't have a screen.
Hmm.
It really just focuses on health monitoring. It doesn't do a bunch of other things. It's not it's not a tool that you can get emails with or call an Uber with. It's really focused on health monitoring. So, I think competition's real. I think you want to be paying attention to the market, but I wouldn't say that we spend a lot of time talking about competition. Now, that doesn't exactly answer your question because you asked if we're competitive. And I would say we are competitive. We like to win. When Amazon knocked us off, and so Amazon met with us in like 2018 to invest in the company, never invested, came out with a copycat product in 2020 called the Amazon Halo. And we were so competitive then towards them that their forwards on every circuit board we manufactured, we wrote, "Don't bother copying us, we will win." And we literally,
Wow.
that message was actually directed directly at Amazon because we knew they
Because
had
you knew
taken
they
our
were going to
product.
reverse engineer it, right?
Yeah, we knew they were taking our product apart. And so there was sort of like an inside joke that, of course, they were going to have to see that message.
That's hilarious.
And
That's so demoralizing. You're
You
like
open it up, you're like, yeah,
you're
you
one
caught me.
product manager of 300,
Yeah,
working on Halo, and you just like discover this. You're
that's
like, guys,
hilarious.
I have some bad news. We're just being sent messages. Can you talk about the I'm particularly interested in the health span
Hmm.
feature. I've tried a variety of different various testing companies over the years. I'm an investor
Well, famously, your
in
biological age is like what, 5 years old, 3 years
yeah,
old?
yeah, yeah. This is our joke. Like, there's this kind of like competitive dynamic if you're doing anything related to biomarkers that
Just want to get
like
as
you would
low
just
as
drive it down.
possible.
Eventually, like they're gonna tell me I'm actually -1, like I'm
Yeah.
still in the womb biologically. But how do you guys kind of work? What does that product actually look like in practice, and what was important to get right there?
yeah, it's a feature we've worked on for a few years now. And it's called Health Span with Whoop Age, and it really has two key numbers. The first is your Whoop age, which is essentially what we define as your real biological age, which is obviously different than your chronological age. And then it's got your pace of aging, which ranges from -1x to 3x, and the lower the better for that. And those two numbers kind of play off one another. The age itself is based on 6 months of data, and the pace of aging is looking at your last 30 days. So you kind of get a sense for, have my recent behaviors been positively affecting my overall health. And we developed this feature in partnership with the Buck Institute, which is one of the top institutes for longevity in the world. And in particular, we worked with an expert named Dr. Eric Verdin. And we looked at a universe of all the different variables that are related with all-cause mortality. And we looked at a pretty large universe of different metrics, but ultimately we settled on nine that most closely correlated with all-cause mortality, or were leading indicators of all-cause mortality. And those include the hours of sleep you get, your sleep consistency, exercise as measured as like the time you spend in heart rate zones, your steps throughout the day, your VO2 max, which is a huge one, the amount of time you spend strength training, and your resting heart rate, and so lean body mass. So we took each of these metrics. We actually show some of the research that is related to each one of them. And when you get the feature, you can go down every single of those nine metrics and see the degree to which it's adding or subtracting from your age. And in
Yeah,
a lot of ways,
cool.
it's probably one of the first times Whoop has been really explicit on how good you are at a specific metric
Yeah.
relative to your age, and your gender. And so uh, people have found it very actionable because maybe you're great at these five things and these four things are making you older, and so now you know what you have to work on.
Yeah, very cool.
I have a question about Meta Ray-Bans partner with Luxottica Ray-Bans. Have you ever thought about partnering? Jordy was joking that you should partner with Patek Philippe or potentially Vacheron Constantin or maybe Audemars Piguet. But have you ever explored that? Do you see it in the future? What do you think on the partnership side?
We're certainly open to different partnerships. We haven't done a lot of them to date. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a few different categories of partnerships. So, one would be around just like the whole universe of accessories and apparel
Mm-hmm.
that Whoop has. Actually, one of the things that's quite unique to Whoop is it's the most customizable wearable on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So you can create 70,000 different types of bands and looks and feels for the product. I mean, for your audience that's watching this that's not familiar with the product, like I'm just showing it right now, but these bands come off very easily
Mm-hmm.
and you can swap in and out all sorts of different colors and looks and feels. We've got, everything from leather to cashmere to, an everyday silicone. And so we are looking at different partners in that category where maybe we'll do specific band developments with someone.
Mm-hmm.
The sensor can also be worn in different locations on your body, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that's unique to Whoop. So you can wear it on your upper arm, you can wear it in your boxers, you can wear it in shorts, women's bra, underwear, and so today Whoop makes all of our own apparel as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, as you can imagine, another area
Mm-hmm.
for potential partnership. Another category I would say of partnerships is around data. And so, Whoop obviously has a unique set of data. And then look, there's other products on the market that have unique sets of data. A very simple example of this was we partnered with Withings,
Oh
about nine
yeah.
months ago. And, everyone who has a certain Withings scale, when they step on it, it goes straight into the Whoop app. It
Yep.
updates their profile, the weight, the lean body mass would feed into your health span.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that that just feel really seamless.
Mm-hmm.
You asked about like Meta and Ray-Bans and those sorts of things. I think from like a data display standpoint, we'll go where the eyeballs go, right? Obviously today everyone's got a smartphone, so as a consequence, we have an iPhone app and an Android app, right? If one of those platforms emerges as being really popular, uh, one of these AR platforms, I could certainly imagine
Mm-hmm.
Whoop data appearing there. I think at the end of the day, we view ourselves as a tool for collecting this data and helping explain it, but we are open-minded to like what the platform is that you analyze it on.
That makes a lot of sense, Jordy.
Last question on my side, and then I need to go get one of the new ones.
Yeah.
Very curious now. How I'm assuming, since I imagine the majority of your revenue is really on the software side, does that mean that and I imagine a lot of your manufacturing is in Asia. My uninformed assumption is that you guys aren't terribly impacted by this, given that I imagine the real value that people are getting is from sort of the ongoing sort of membership. But talk about that and maybe how you're kind of planning around the tariffs.
Look, I mean, we are impacted by it, no question. We manufacture some products in China. We also do some manufacturing in Mexico. We've got accessories and apparel that we source around the world. So yeah, look, the tariffs have impacted us. I think for now we're taking it on the chin rather than passing it to consumers. And my expectation is that some of this will evolve. And look, our standpoint as well is, all right, we have to have a manufacturing policy that adapts to where the U.S. is and U.S. relations with China and all of these different things. So I would say we're looking at a few different options in that category, but we haven't done anything yet that directly affects the consumer in a negative way. And at least I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no,
That's
that
great.
makes sense. Well, this is exciting.
Yeah,
Congrats on the
congratulations.
launch.
Where can people get it?
Whoop.com.
Whoop.com.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
go check it out.
Whoop.com, baby.
And I just want to say congrats to you guys. I think
Thank you.
on creating a cool new category in this show. I've enjoyed seeing snippets
Yeah.
on the internet and listening to you guys. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Well,
appreciate
come back
that.
on whenever you have news.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we might have to start flashing our health spans
Yep.
on the
We're very
Chiron so
competitive,
that
so it works well.
we track our 8 sleep scores
Yep.
daily with the audience to sort of keep ourselves accountable. But just we
really
want to
just
add,
because the audience wants that. From
yeah,
us,
yeah,
for
we're
sure.
gonna add every single health metric
Yep,
because we
yep,
want to
yep.
we want to
Full
do
vitals.
this for decades. You
Yeah.
can't stream for 3 hours a day without taking your health very seriously.
Yeah, I think like every 30 days, just kind of a live update on your age, your health
Yeah.
span.
That's great.
That's what the people need.
Yeah.
Wait, doing the show 3 hours a day aged you 10 years in 3
Whoa,
months?
whoa,
What
whoa.
happened, Jordy?
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Awesome.
We-
Well,
we are in the
congrats
gym
to you
enough.
and the team on the launch, and
Congratulations.
we'll talk more soon.
We'll talk more soon. Thanks so much. Bye.